Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, soon to be joined by Rob, who's just actually setting up right now. We got in a little late here from work. Nice little bit of traffic and all that kind of fun stuff there. But yeah, guys, this is what should in essence be our last episode about the NFL draft here, as we're going to go ahead and give you guys a rundown of the NFC East as a whole. So it's something we do every year for those who might be new to the show here. So we gave you guys a rundown on Sunday on all the New York Giants selections there. It's a good almost 2-hour show there. So if you didn't check that out yet, go ahead and check that out on YouTube or Facebook or any of the audio podcast platforms there. But today we're going to give you a rundown on what the division rivals did at the draft here. The Eagles, the Commanders, the Cowboys. Listen, that's going to be a good percentage of our schedule, obviously. We play them twice each time. So, it's a good chance that a lot of the people we're going to talk about here, you're going to see on the field here at some point there playing against the New York Giants. So we always like to do that. I always like to talk about what team improved themselves the most. Because let's be honest, we're happy with what the Giants did, which I know sounds weird. Feels weird even saying that, like we're happy with what the Giants did. But, we still have to talk about everything going on with the Eagles, obviously the defending Super Bowl champions. Let's be honest, I hate to say it, but they are good drafters. The Cowboys, who seem to be on a little bit of a downswing here, but let's be honest, they have not been bad at building a team up the last decade or so. They've just been bad at winning in the playoffs, what it boils down to. And then the Commanders, obviously up and coming now with the addition of Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn and all the new comings there with the new ownership and everything there at the Washington team there. So let's start it right off here talking about the Eagles here, because let's be honest, the Eagles are the team here that won the Super Bowl. They are the best team in the division. I hate to say it, but let's be honest, they are. Pains me a little, hurts me a little here, but we got to be honest about what they are. But they're also a team that, had some issues with age in the secondary. They did a good job of fixing that last year. Again, as much as I hate to admit it, with Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. They've also had, they've lost some edge rushers and defensive tackles over the last couple of years here to retirement, free agency, all that kind of fun stuff there. Lost a guard, obviously, in Mekhi Becton this offseason as well. So they definitely had some holes to fill. So let's go over how they did it. So they started off with their first pick was trading up to the team that they beat in the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs. So that way they can go ahead and leapfrog the other team that there's a couple of teams, I should say, that were talking about it. But talk about leaping the Chiefs at that point there to go ahead and get Jihaad Campbell out of Alabama. Now, the rumor is the Cleveland Browns were the team that really wanted to move up to get him. It's interesting because we talked about them when we talked about Jackson Dart as well, because there was talks about the Browns wanting to move up back then to get Jackson Dart. Again, I've said it on Sunday. I'll say it again. Who knows who they're looking to move up to get? They were definitely looking to move up, though. That we can tell you. Maybe they're looking to get Campbell that early. Who knows? I mean, he's a good pickup, honestly, guys. I thought it was a really good steal to get him with the second to last pick in the draft for the Eagles. Again, as much as I hate to give these guys kudos here. 6'3", 244 pounds. He's 21 years old. Jersey boy, too, on top of that. This past season, 13 games, 117 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, interception, 2 passes deflected, 81.6 PFF grade. Guys, we had this guy listed as literally our top off-ball linebacker, middle linebacker, whatever term you guys want to use for this draft here. I thought he was underrated the way he was ranked, actually. We thought he'd go probably end of first round, beginning of the second round. So he went exactly where we thought he would go. Though I said point blank when we did the scouting of him that he was a guy that, quite frankly, is mid-first round talent. I'll stand by that. I do think he is that good. Again, I hate to say nice things about a guy that the Eagles got, But this is why we go ahead and do some of the scouting, like that beforehand too, so we can't change our minds if a team we don't like gets them. But he's a playmaker. He's got great size. He's speedy. He processes things very well. He's versatile. He can actually be used as an edge rusher if they need to be on certain plays as well. The only things with him is he does get a little overly aggressive and does have trouble getting off bigger blockers. But again, great pick. I think it's an absolute steal where they got him. I really do. Again, I think he got drafted where most of the NFL world had him. But we here on this show had him as a mid-first round talent, even though we expected him to not go nearly, that early there. Second round pick for them. So the second round pick is pick 64. They got Andrew Mukuba out of Texas, one of the highly touted safeties in this draft here. Also played a few years over at Clemson, 6 foot even, 190 pounds, 22 years old. Originally from Zimbabwe, and then went to Austin, Texas there to go to high school. Was ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year with his time at Clemson there, freshman All-American, so really had a great start to his career. This past year, 15 games, 69 tackles and 4 tackles for loss, 5 interceptions. And he's a true deep safety, this kid is. 508 of his snaps were in the deep safety, only 129 in the box, 71 in the slot. So he can pop down to the slot and cover if need be, but he's definitely more that center fielder kind of guy. Third team All SEC. Really, though, an up and down career he's had. So he's got you see the spurts of him, and listen, if he played like he plays when he's up the whole time, he would have been a first round pick all day long. I'm telling you that right now, point blank. If he had played as good as he does in his ups, he would have been a first round pick. But he definitely has some of the downs as well. So you got to include that as part of that. Is that coaching? Is that him just not being consistent and having mental lapses? Again, we don't know. We don't know him personally, but it's something the Eagles will have to figure out. And I hate to say, I hope they don't, because I don't want to root against the kid, but he is an Eagle now. I gotta have to. But he did lead the SEC in interceptions this past season. Like I said, playmaker, very instinctive. He's a bit smaller. He's not great at tackling. He also does get overly aggressive, and he's had some injury issues at Clemson, which obviously partially could be, at the very least, part of the issues he had as far as his up and down of the parts of the career. Again, they got him in the second round. We had a third round grade on him. So I definitely think he got drafted early, but, not like insanely early. It's not like they took a guy, that we thought might not even get drafted in the fourth round or something. Or did they? Fourth round pick 111, defensive tackle Ty Robinson out of Nebraska was their next pick. We didn't even scout this guy. Now, again, I say it all the time. Rob and I are not Mel Kiper. We're not, some big name people. We don't try to appear to be or act like we are. But we do a lot of scouting for the draft. I think we scout usually about 150 players each year. 150. This is pick 111. We didn't scout him. He wasn't on our radar as being one of the top 150 players. 6'5", 288 pounds. He's 23 years old, though. As we're recording this is the last day of April. May 3rd is his birthday. He'll be 24. So he's definitely on the older side there. From Gilbert, Arizona. This past season, 13 games, 37 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, 4 passes deflected, and a forced fumble. So not a bad year for him. Not a bad year at all. But his career overall, 6 years. Keep in mind, so again, been in college a long time. 60 games, 134 tackles, 27 tackles for loss, 12 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery as well. So basically, like half of his tackle for losses, his sacks, all the important stats like that you really want to see from somebody that's got some pass rush ability, which, Robinson, again, did have this past year. Half his stats came in this last year, his 6th year. Why? Because for most people, they'd be in their 2nd year of NFL at this point. Let's be honest. Like the term "men amongst boys" gets thrown a lot for talent differences. This is an age difference, men against boys kind of things. Like this is a guy who's an adult, been drinking for several years legally. Like that's not your typical guy in college. We talk about the COVID years all the time. We're hoping this is the last draft. We talk about players with the COVID years and all. He started playing college in 2019, guys, like pre-COVID. So it's been a while. Think about how long ago that was. COVID happened. Well, when that happened, he already finished his first year of college. He's been in it for a while. Bleacher reports that Ty Robinson is a draftable player. First off, that's hilarious. He's a draftable player. You got him in the 4th round. Based on the impressive movement skills he showed on tape and the athletic testing numbers he put at the combine, that gives him the potential to contribute as an interior pass rusher down the line. He's already effective on line games and has a decent club by move to serve as his foundation. However, Robinson struggles in the run game, has short arms, and needs to improve his use of hands as a pass rusher. While the latter can be developed, he's a 6-year senior who has this technique issue and might be limited given his lack of arm length. Overall, the Nebraska product is worth taking a chance on in later rounds of the draft, especially for an odd front team that's looking for a 4-eye technique. Listen, guys, here's the problem part I run into this. You see players sometimes, and you go, "What the hell? Like, this is the guy?" Like, I don't see it. But at the same point, you look sometimes, and you go, "But it is the Eagles. Like, they've had really good luck in the draft." And I say luck, it's quotations. With drafting, there's a little bit of luck, but there's also a lot of knowledge and a lot of just being good at it. So, I don't want to sit there and bash the Eagles as much as I love bashing the Eagles. I don't want to bash the Eagles for who they picked here because they have the track record that you can sit there and go, "Oh, they seem to be knowing what they're doing lately." Hate to say it, but I'm trying to give you guys honest reactions, honest feedback, and honest assessment here. So it's a little bit of a puzzling pick for me, but it would be just the way the Eagles have been lately that this kid pulls into all of a sudden being, a great backup that they can bring up on 3rd downs and break down the pocket in the middle of the line there. It just would be the way they've been lately. Round 5, pick 114, cornerback Mac McWilliams out of UCF, Central Florida there. Another guy not scouted by us before the draft. He started his career over at University of Alabama, Birmingham, UAB, from 20 to 23, so just the 1 year over at UCF. 5'10", 191 pounds, 23 years old, from Pensacola, Florida. This past year, 11 games, 32 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, a sack, interception, 2 passes deflected, and forced fumble, an 81.6 PFF grade. It's not a bad PFF grade there, but again, UCF, not exactly playing some of the better schools there. Now, I wanted to look at what they did and who they played this year, because again, UCF, not as a tiny school, but it's not exactly a powerhouse. There's 2 games that really popped out to me. Iowa State. Again, Iowa State had 2 guys drafted pretty high at the receiver in there. Arizona. Obviously, Arizona with Tet had the highest, draft number there of any of the wide receivers in this draft here. Look at the numbers. And again, I will tell you guys point blank, I did not sit there and spend hours watching film on people the Giants did not pick. I'm not going to do that. But look at the numbers, and those receivers crushed UCF in those games. This is one of the things I talked about when it came to like some of the, the Colorado players, not to bring up Shedeur Sanders in every draft episode, but, the guys like him and, Travis Hunter. And, I said it also matters who they played because these guys didn't play a lot of top-end talent. Well, neither did UCF, but when they did, these receivers really did very well against them. It's a Bleacher Report positives. Very good zone defender who splits the threads well, keeps leverage, and shows good ball skills. Tracks the ball well. It stays calm with the ball in the air. Quick footwork and backpedal and transitioning. Drives in the ball with good twitch. And aggressive defender who triggers quickly to what he sees. Uses his quicks to beat blockers and does a good job tackling. Shoots at the ball carrier's legs and wraps him to bring him down. They also said negative on him. Undersized cornerback who lacks ideal height and length. Lack of size can show up in coverage in a running game. And inconsistent transitions can lead to separation. Can get stuck out of his break at times when pressed with speed, and has shown to not fully trust what his eyes see, leading to delays in breaking. So again, got some issues, and it's weird because they're showing a combination. Got issues with what he does as far as his technique, but he's also got issues with his size, which, let's be honest, you can't coach size. So, I don't know what their plan is with him. Again, it's the guy that I didn't even think would be drafted this high, to be honest. I thought he'd be a late day 3 pick. So we didn't do a ton of scouting him beforehand, but I'm familiar with the name from just watching film in general. I feel like this is another one that, again, a bit puzzling. And for those who watched our coverage of the draft last year, I said point blank that the Eagles crushed it with what they got in the secondary. With Quinyon Mitchell alone, I was a huge Quinyon Mitchell fan. But, getting him and getting, Cooper Jean later on, a great combo for them. This is the corner pick that I got to say I don't get. I don't see what they see. Really don't. Next up, round 5, pick 161. Linebacker Smile Mondin from Georgia. 6'3", 235 pounds, 22 years old, from Dallas, Georgia. Was second team All SEC in 23 this past year. 10 games, 57 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 3 passes deflected, and a 72.4 PFF grade. Got good size and length. He's solid in coverage, a good tackler. Not exactly a great run defender, though. He does lack strength. He's also not a great blitzer, but he's won sometimes with his motor, not necessarily his strength or his moves. And he's had a lot of injury issues the last 3 years. We said day 3 pick for him. He's out to where they got him. So I can't say it's an over or under kind of thing. I got to think this is a guy they're thinking as a special teamer and to see what you can develop, Matt. So, I can't knock the pick if that's the case. 5th round, pick 168. They got the center out of Boston College, Drew Kendall. Now, they list him as a guard and center as well. So it tells you that they don't know quite where his place is going to be yet. 6'4", 285, 23 years old, from Norwell, Massachusetts. Again, 285, obviously a very undersized, most NFL circles there. Son of Pete Kendall, the former Boston College guard and first-round pick at the Seahawks back in 96, who played until 2008. 38 games in a 4-year career, including 13 the last year. 78.8 PFF grade last season. Got good speed and athleticism, good pass protection, blocks in space, good snapper, which is key. Some guys we talked about at center position were not very good at snapping the ball at all. He's smart. He does have small size, though. He's not strong, and he does have trouble with the best defensive tackles he saw. He's definitely a guy that, again, Boston College, you play kind of the medium schools at that point there. When he had to face tougher competition, you definitely saw it on tape. And I think a lot of that, to be honest, is that strength issue. So he's going to have to go into the gym if the Eagles wanted to succeed, probably. We had him as a late day 3 pick. Again, 5th round. It's more of a mid-day 3 pick, but you can't complain. That's not a crazy spot for him. Obviously they see something they like at that point. Then they got in the 6th round, pick 181, Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. I know a lot of Giants fans were talking about him. Let's be honest here. Us Giants fans, we had different quarterbacks we loved in the latter rounds. We're like, this guy's the steal. This guy's the one. This one's the one that's going to make it. Me was Dylan Gabriel, which wasn't the popular pick there. But Kyle McCord definitely had his people that he liked. The big thing with Kyle McCord really was he works half the field. There's some things you like, but he works half the field. I think the best case scenario that for them, at least for the Eagles, which, again, I hate to root against the kid, but you went to the Eagles. I got to kind of root against you here. Their best case scenario is that they're going to go ahead and develop him into be a serviceable backup for Jalen Hurts that's cheap for the next couple of years. That's really probably their best case scenario. Let's be honest. Jalen Hurts has got a big contract. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. But let's say hypothetically, McCord becomes your backup. He gets hurt. Jalen Hurts get hurt, and then McCord comes in and does a decent job. Well, they trade bait. That's probably the move they're making at that point there. Get a cheap backup that could be trade bait down the line, and he's cheap. That's the key part. Cheap. And I've said it before, guys. I think with that offensive line and the weapons around him, I think pretty much any quarterback can succeed. People take that as a knock at Jalen Hurts. I don't mean as a knock at Jalen Hurts. I just mean it's an honest assessment. Got great receivers. Got one of the best running backs in all of football, if not the best. Got one of the best, if not if not one of the best offensive lines. Got a really good tight end. I mean, you name a spot in that offense, it's an issue. That's why you keep on seeing so many defensive players being drafted. They're trying to replenish what they've lost on defense, but offensively, they've been pretty solid. Next up, round 6, 191, tackle Miles Hinton out of Michigan. Another guy we did not grade our scout really before this draft. As my comrade here, Rob, is officially in the building here.
Oh, hello.
Hello. So we're up to 6th round here for the Eagles here. You didn't miss too much. So in round 6, 191, Miles Hinton out of Michigan. Played the last 2 years there. Prior to that, to 3 years over at Stanford, 6'7", 323, 23 years old from Johns Creek, Georgia. This past 10 games, a 69.0 PFF grade. Listen, Michigan's a legit school. They play in a legit college conference.
This is true.
Grade under 70. Whew. I'm sorry. That means PFF don't like you.
No.
No. So there's definitely some issues there. Played left tackle this past season. Played right tackle the 2 seasons prior, both his first season in Michigan and his last one over at Stanford. Bleacher Reports right up on him. They said overall Hinton has shaky sustained skills in the run game due to erratic technique and footwork. However, he has the building blocks of a swing tackle due to his combination of size, light feet, and quickness to match up one-on-one in pass protection and lead around the edge in the run game. So, again, we haven't done much work on him. We didn't have him on our list of players to scout because we just didn't have him that high. But if Bleacher Report's correct and they think he's a guy you can develop into a swing tackle, that's not bad to get from a 6th-round pick. It makes you think there that obviously with the low PFF grade and the issues he's having is, the technique issues they're mentioning here, the footwork issues and all. So, he's going to have to work on that, try to get it fixed. But again, let's be honest, the Eagles have a tendency to find players and fix these kind of issues. It's just they have very good coaching. I hate to say it, but it's the truth.
Sally, you're not wrong.
No,
they have done a fantastic job at drafting their bench.
Just even fixing things in general. Look at Mekhi Becton last year.
Yeah.
Bet Jets fans miss him now.
Well, Jets fans also know they don't know how to handle their picks properly.
Or anything properly.
This is
picks
true.
Properly, free agents properly, veteran quarterbacks properly, coaching issues properly. Yeah. Wasn't the guy, by the way, who got caught with the prank phone calls and his son, wasn't that the guy that the Jets had as their interim head coach last year?
I
think it was.
He definitely was a coach. Jeff Irsay, like he was
no, not Irsay. Irsay is the Colts owner.
Yeah, sorry.
Let me see. I'm gonna look it up real quick. I'm curious. Yeah, it was. It was the guy who is now the head coach, the defense coordinator, sorry, at the Falcons, whose son got caught with the prank phone calls and all. That's crazy. The Jets are always involved in the BS.
One way or another.
Jay says, Eagles have better content creators too. Hey,
wait a minute.
Hey,
let's go to Philly. Traitor.
We represent that remark.
Represent it.
Womp. Anyway, next up they got so many picks. It's not even funny in round 6 here. Pick 207, tackle Cameron Williams out of Texas. So they're going back to the tackle well again. Now, this is a guy they picked 16, so almost half a round later. And I guys, he was a better pick. He's a better pick than Hinton. 6'5", 335 pounds, 21 years old from Duncanville, Texas. Been playing at Texas. 25 career games. So he is still much more raw, that's for sure. 15 games last year, a 67.4 PFF grade. So another guy with a low PFF grade. Not that that's all, but again, I'll take a low PFF grade on a guy who is, again, 25 career games, basically 2 seasons of actually playing football, compared to a guy who was, 5 years in college. That's a little different there. Just a little different. All his snaps are at right tackle, so he doesn't necessarily show the versatility that you want as a swing tackle guy. He's got long arms, powerful, strong hands, can pull. Does have trouble with speed rushers, though, and is a little slower himself. Hand placement issues and technique issues. Again, a guy that you could develop. Where they got him, again, a late 6th round. I think that's a good pickup for him. We thought he was going to go like round 3, round 4, around there. Mostly because he was the guy that some people really thought was the guy that you have to work with for a little bit, but you could really develop him into something good. So to get him in the 6th round, I think was a pretty good pickup there. And I know it wasn't with tackles dropping this draft. There was definitely a few of the tackles that dropped that I was a little shocked by. We said when we scouted Cameron, I remember saying that whoever gets him in the 3rd round probably going to regret it because he's a working project. You don't really want a project in the 3rd round. No. In the 6th round, that's exactly where you take a project. So
100%, especially that caliber.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm not going to hate the pick. I'm actually going to say I like the pick, even though again I hate it. Like we just have to start at the end of the show, start bashing all the NFC East teams that we're giving kudos to. I feel like that's what we got to do.
But by the way, they freaking stink.
Yes. Show your crappy steak-em sandwiches that they think are good.
They think that the Geno's cheesesteaks are the best. Come to Seaside. Go to Cheesesteak Louie's.
I've heard Camden actually has very good cheesesteaks. They make them on hard rolls instead of on the grinder rolls kind of things.
Huh.
I've never found that out, though, so I don't want to get stabbed or shot.
Well, I go there during a day for work sometimes. So I'm going to have to try it.
We'll have to try this out. Special report. Yeah. Just look it up. The best play. I'm telling you, it is different. If I remember correctly, it was Camden that does the round, cheese sticks. Let me see. I'm looking it up to verify I'm right on that before I sound like a complete fool. Well, I don't know. We always talk about food. I don't know. It's bad.
For families.
Yeah. So there's a place called Donkey's Place, which apparently is known as the best one. In fact, Anthony Bourdain went there and said it may be the best cheesesteak he ever had.
Oh,
yeah. So he wasn't all about the BS in there. He's pretty good. So, yeah. So Donkey's Place you'll have to go to. Donkey. Anyway,
donkeys.
It's like the weird things that we bring up in the show, but it happens.
There's multiple locations. There's another one in Mount Holly.
Oh, see? Jay says Rob's junk food recommendations are very valuable. Who's going to recommend it? He hasn't been there. When he comes back, though, he will let us know.
Oh, no, he's talking about Cheesesteak Louie's.
Oh, Cheesesteak Louie's? He says he knows what he's talking about. Where's Cheesesteak Louie's? I never heard of that.
Seaside.
Oh, is it? Okay, I don't know. I don't really go to Seaside very often.
I mean,
I used to, when I was younger, get drunk and go to Club Bamboo, but
it's no longer there.
I know it wasn't. I know it's not. It wasn't for the cheesesteaks I went for, by the way.
No.
Yeah. There definitely might have been some roast beef involved, but it was. Anyway, round 6.
Well, St. Patty's Day, they had strawberry sandwiches.
Oh, gosh. Round 6, 209. Again, this is ridiculous, guys. Like, let's see. 1, 2, 3. This is 3 6-round picks now. They had like 10% of the picks in the 6th round here. Antwaun Powell-Ryland out of Virginia Tech. Another guy, again, we'll tell you point blank if we haven't looked at it before. We did not scout this player. So
what we did scout is
Cheesesteak
Louie's. So if you guys want to sponsor you, listen.
Cheesesteak Louie's, 2 Giant Goofballs at mail.com.
Appreciate it.
We will also work for free cheesesteaks, but fair warning, you have to ship mine to Florida. Just saying. Jada says your food picks are better than your draft picks. Hey, we were dead on, by the way, with a lot of the draft. I think we had 8 of the first 11 picks right or something like that.
Close to it.
The ironic thing was the one we got nowhere near close was the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, A lot of people thought Shedeur was the top 5. So
I honestly, I thought it was smoke and mirrors, that all this BS they were talking about towards the end. But if everything had come out that we now know, I would have, definitely said no. He's not going to be the pick, because you can't talk trash at Dable in a meeting and think you're going to get picked by him. He's not that guy.
yeah,
No. Anyway,
eating too many cheesesteaks if that's the case.
cheese sticks. Anyway, Powell-Ryland out of, like I said, Virginia Tech the last couple of years. It had 3 years over at Florida before that as well. So another long in the tooth draftee here. This past season, 12 games, 43 tackles, 19 tackles for loss, 16 sacks, 3 fumble recovers, and 3 forced fumbles. Not a bad season. Not a bad season at all. But remember, we talked about players where half their stats are in 1 year. Yeah, this is what we're at again here, guys. 5-year career, 52 games, 117 tackles, 400. 400. I wish we had a player with 400 and some odd in any kind of career total. We pick him ourselves in a heartbeat. 42 tackles for loss. So again, 19 this past year, 42 on his career, 30 sacks for his career. Again, 16 this past. So you see the trend of what we're going here with. 1 pass deflected, 6 fumbles recovered, 9 forced fumbles. So yeah, definitely had a decent amount of his career totals this past year. He also got a 78.6 PFF grade this year. PFF gave a little write-up on him. They said this year's draft class is particularly deep in edge rusher, meaning quality players can be found on day 3. One of those prospects is Antwaun Powell-Ryland, who may slide down draft boards due to his shorter than ideal arm length. However, his on-field production speaks for itself. Powell-Ryland has been one of the most productive pass rushers in the country, posting an 89.8 pass rush grade in 23 and an 85.2 in 24. In 24 alone, we already gave the stats, and then we'll skip that part here. He said they say a technician with multiple pass rushing moves. Powell-Ryland has delivered several multi-sacks performances, totaling 5 games with multiple sacks over the last 2 seasons. That includes a 4-sack game. That's 4 sacks, a pretty impressive game. He became the first Virginia Tech player since 2005 to notch 10 or more sacks in a season. He's amassed 128 career pressures as well. So, like I said, this is an interesting pickup to get a guy with that kind of production in, your last pick, very tail end of round 6. I got to say that's a quality pickup for them.
Yeah,
I've kind of a little head scratched on a couple of their picks. That's a quality pick, and I don't think they're thinking of him as a guy anything more than a pass rush specialist to start off with there to see what he develops. But for a team that lost Reddick, obviously you got people retiring left and right on their defense there. Lost Hargraves obviously a couple of years ago. Obviously Bryce Huff wasn't exactly what they hoped for last year. They got a decent guy at the end of this draft here that has shown something in college. He's got to see if he can now translate that to the NFL. But obviously, most NFL people don't think he can if he's a 6th-round pick. Let's be honest. But like I said, it's an interesting one. That's out of all their picks, guys that we didn't scout beforehand. This is the one that I'm like, I'm going to remember this name, and I'm kind of curious to see what he does.
Yeah.
That's pretty good there. So overall, though, I'm kind of mixed on what the Eagles did. Again, I like their first pick. They got up with the 1 pick and got the player they wanted. We thought was the best off-ball linebacker in this draft. They got a decent safety for their 2nd pick, drafted him probably a little early. Then they got a couple players for the defense that, quite frankly, we didn't even have nearly being a 4th and 5th round pick. We had them more like 6th, 7th round guys. Got a backup linebacker, has some injury issues, but an athletic guy that picked him right where we thought. Went ahead and got a guard/center, exactly where we thought. Pick up a couple tackles. I mean, they had a lot of depth in this whole thing. That's where they went. They went for depth because that's what they had. They had a lot of elite picks. So I don't love what they did because there's definitely some players I think they reached for. But they did enough in this draft that I can't say that it's a horrible draft either. I would say like a B-.
All right. I mean, I was giving a little more credit than you were. I was going to say just a B, possibly B+. But because of a couple of reaches that they made. But I mean, what they did with the late round picks, you can't be mad. And they've been notorious of drafting their depth and bringing them up from the farm and putting them on the field, and then replacing them with more depth pieces in the draft and bringing them back up, and then paying their top 3 players half their salary cap.
Yeah. I mean, I and it's like I said, that's why I have trouble questioning at this point anything they do.
Yeah,
because they've been very good at what they do for a long time now.
I was like, because of some of the reaches early on, like I want to say B, but like I mean, they went out, they got the first round draft pick where they picked them, like fantastic pick and good stuff late round.
I'm not looking forward to seeing Campbell twice a year. No, I'm really not.
I'm gonna go ahead and settle with a B.
Okay, so you got a B.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me
Bumblebee.
A bumblebee? Is it a bumblebee tuna? I love bumblebee tuna.
Your goofballs are showing.
My goofballs are showing? What?
Yeah, bumblebee tuna.
Oh my god! All right, so let's.
Ace Ventura.
I don't remember that at all.
That was the second one.
That's why I don't remember it. Nobody watched the second ones again.
Oh,
we all got excited when it first came out, and then I realized it just wasn't nearly as good as the first one.
Rewatch it. It was ahead of its time.
Listen, I don't think anything is going to work now. Ace Ventura. That's one of those things you go back now and go, okay, how does this be thought of as funny? It doesn't age well to my mind.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not as funny. Anyway.
Next up, one of the surprises of the 24 NFL season here, team that rised up probably better than any other team this past season here. The Washington Commanders. Let's go over their draft. I feel bad. They're the one player that we got in the first round. We couldn't get like a jersey holding kind of picture there because I don't even think he went to the draft. I'm going to go, in other words, I don't think he was even considered somebody that they thought about bringing because I don't think people thought he'd be a first round pick. I said that. Yes, I did. First round, pick 29. Josh Connolly Jr., offensive tackle out of Oregon. And guys, this was probably of all of the first round picks that the NFC East had. So there's 5 picks because the Giants had 2 and the other guys each had 1. This is probably my least favorite pick. I think it was a reach. So 6'4", 315 pounds, 21 years old, from Seattle. The 21 Anthony Munoz Award for Best Offensive Lineman in high school. So he definitely was a guy that, has had some years of good tape in high school there, but goes to college and it's a little more up and down, I thought. 41 career games. This past season, 14 games, 78.3 PFF. Now, he was first-team All-American. I just disagree with the selection. I'm just calling it out there. Before someone says to me, oh, you think he was ups and downs. See, he was first-team All-American. Obviously, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I feel like that's what's going to be the comment now. I'm sorry. He was a great pass blocker, but he was not a good run blocker. And on top of that, he did not look good in the Senior Bowl. I talked to multiple people that went there and said point blank that he did not look good in the Senior Bowl. So, that's when you're literally playing against some of the best guys that are coming into that draft and you're having trouble. That's an issue.
Yeah. And I mean, to kind of piggyback off what you're saying there, like when you're talking about great pass rusher and then you can't stop the run, I mean, they're playing Barkley twice a year who exploits guys like this. We know firsthand. We watched it.
Wait,
to the horn, Tracy Jr. has been pretty well doing the same thing. So, and well, the Cowboys, but let's keep them out of the equation. But their faces are pretty solid running backs, and you can't stop the run.
No, offensive tackle. You can't run block. Can't stop the run.
Touche.
Go get your coffee.
Yeah, I actually need an evidence.
Anyway.
I'll see myself out. Adios.
No, but listen, guys, the big thing with him is he's a converted running back. Ironically, you should say that. Who went ahead and converted over to tackle only once he was in college there. He played almost entirely at left tackle as well, which is an interesting thing because keep in mind the Commanders made a big trade for one of their probably their biggest move of the offseason for Larry Tunsil from the Houston Texans then. So he's a left tackle. You drafted a left tackle. Is this like the Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix move of the offensive line? Like just something doesn't quite make sense. So, I guess maybe they're gonna move him to the right side, but again, he's never played that side. There's issues with that. On the goods, I don't want to be just all negative on this whole thing. Very athletic, good footwork, keeps the pocket clean, does also get to the second level, and gets under pads. The biggest issues, besides the run blocking issues that I have seen there with him when you watch the tape, got some balance issues. Also needs to add a lower body strength as well. It seems to not have that good solid anchor at times. We had a second round grade on him. So I'm a little shocked that he went first round. I thought like mid-second round, I was ready to go. I think it was a reach pick, personally. I think they just had in their head they had to go get an offensive tackle. They had to get an offensive lineman, protect the quarterback, which I get because your quarterback's 170 pounds. Much respect to him, though. We were right. We said he was the best quarterback in that draft last year. But he is a little wee man, so you want to go ahead and make sure you keep him upright. Next up, probably their best. I gotta say, I think their best player they got this draft, even over their first round pick, which I know sounds weird. Trey Amos, cornerback at Ole Miss. Also was in Alabama in 23. Also was in Louisiana from 20 to 22. So he's been with 3 different schools there. He's an outside corner, 6'1", 190 pounds, 23 years old, from New Iberia, Louisiana. This past year, 13 games, 50 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, 13 passes deflected, and a forced fumble, an 85.6 PFF grade. First team All SEC. When you succeed at the SEC level, as best of the best of the best, sir, then yeah, you've done something right. Great ball skills. He's quick. He's instinctive. He's a ball hawk. He's physical and has good press. He is a bad tackler, though. He has trouble getting off blocks, and he's also very bad in the run game. It's a round 2 grade we had on him. I think the issues with the getting off blocks, the physicalness, I think some of that is the fact he's 190 pounds. I think some of that can be fixed potentially with a little bit of work as far as some of the technique stuff. But in the end, let's be honest, every player has a flaw. And if your biggest flaw is you have trouble getting off blocks and helping out in the running game from the outside, let's be honest, the corners are the last line of defense. How many years we deal with Dory Jackson as a bad run defender? Same.
Yeah.
It's not really that big a deal to me. So yeah, like I said, this guy we scouted, we liked him. I think it's a good pickup for him. I really do. And I think he's a guy that, like I said, I think when it's all said and done, he'll be a better pickup for them than Josh Connolly is. All right. Next up.
Yeah.
Round 4, pick 128, Jalen Lane, wide receiver at Virginia Tech. Played there the last 2 years and played 3 years over at Middle Tennessee State because Tennessee is so wide, there is no north and south. It's east, west, and middle. It's like you could drive to that state in 15 minutes or 4 hours, depending on which direction you're going.
God, I love that state.
It's a really weird state. Anyway, 5'10", 196 pounds, 22 years old. Ironically, again, as we're recording this on the 30th of April, tomorrow's his birthday. Happy birthday, turning 23 tomorrow. From Clover, South Carolina. Another guy we did not scout coming into this. And you know what the ironic thing is? So the Giants got one of their UDFAs was from Virginia Tech. And we put out a video that went out today. And one of the guys actually was like, oh, you clearly didn't watch the All-22. Their quarterback sucks. Okay. I wasn't scouting the quarterback. We're scouting the wide receiver. But here's another one that, quite frankly, didn't have a lot of stat-wise. So, I get it. The quarterback sucked. But this year he put up 12 games, 38 catches, 466 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Rushed the ball 18 times for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns. I can't sit there and say that's amazing, great, stats. Again, it's a 4th-round pick. It's not a 1st-round pick. I get it. The quarterback sucked. But
it's not the corner's fault.
But what I'm saying is I feel like this is a guy who, as a wide receiver, should have had better production to be a 4th-round pick than less than 500 yards. And that's what he's done regularly. 5 years, 54 games, 203 catches, 2,532 yards, 18 touchdowns. I think what their plan is just to use him kind of like we use Wan'Dale. The little guy, you can move around. You can put him in the backfield sometimes, put him in the slot. Obviously, not to the degree of use that Wan'Dale gets with the Giants. That kind of gadget player.
Yeah. The wide 4-5 kind of.
Yeah, and that's what he's going to be. He's going to be the guy you bring out, every so often for a weird trick play or something like that. And you just try to develop him overall while you're doing that. NFL Draft Buzz said, watching Lane's film reveals a receiver with a clear path to the NFL contribution through multiple avenues. He'll step in day one as a dynamic punt returner who attacks north-south with decisive vision and enough burst to threaten the end zone. When the offense breaks the huddle, Lane's value lies in his versatility, a movable chess piece who creates matchup problems from the slot and offers genuine juice in catch and run scenarios. So, yeah, listen, if you're going to use him as a weapon, and you're going to use him as a punt returner, let's be honest, you're probably getting him more as a punt returner around 4 than you are as a weapon.
Yeah.
It just seems a little high to me to get a guy like that. So, but maybe they think of him more than other people do. It's not I'm going to bash them nonstop for taking him kind of high. It's not like they took Eric Gray because he can return kicks here. Oh, yeah, I said it. But, again, a little early, I think. Round 6, 205. Kane Medrano, linebacker, UCLA, 6'3", 222 pounds, 24 years old, from Pueblo, Colorado. This past season, 12 games, 72 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, a sack and a half, which just sounds weird. A sack and a half. No, it's probably the only podcast can talk about that. 2 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, 4 passes deflected, a fumble recovery, 3 forced fumble, and a 71.7 PFF grade. He played for 6 years at UCLA, guys. 6 years. 50 games, 195 tackles, 22 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 3 interceptions, 10 passes deflected, 2 fumble recoveries, and 5 forced fumbles. This is from 33rd Team. They said UCLA Bruins linebacker Kane Medrano projects as a special teams contributor at the NFL level with the upside of becoming a sub-package defender. He should be afforded the opportunity to stack more weight onto his frame in an effort to appeal for a more traditional linebacker role. He's been a frequent special teams contributor, which should serve as his fast track to playing time at the NFL level and afford him the opportunity to make a 53-man roster while working on his defensive profile. So, again, this is not a player that Rob and I scouted beforehand. I do feel like this is a guy, though, that you can go ahead and bring in, like they said, as a special teamer. That's what he specialized in for many years at UCLA. You bring him in as a special teamer, and you just try to see if you can develop him. Ain't nothing wrong with that in a 6th-round pick.
Not at all.
There are plenty of people that get drafted for just that exact need. So, got one more for the Commanders here, guys. And this is probably the most intriguing pick of theirs. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, running back out of Arizona. Now, he's also the guy who's played for 3 schools. This is like a theme of people that played for 3 schools coming from these draft classes here. Played for Arizona this past year, New Mexico in 23, and Alabama State from 19 to 22. 5'10", 206 pounds, 24 years old, from Montgomery, Alabama. This past year, 1 game, 13 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. Now, this is the weird part about it. It wasn't an injury, guys. When you hear one game, usually like, oh, it's got to be an injury or something, right? Nope. Eligibility issues. So they realized after he played a game, he wasn't actually eligible to play. So, yeah, one game and that's it. And he looked really good in that game for Arizona. And what's interesting is, again, Alabama State, New Mexico, but much smaller schools. So people weren't quite sure what to think of him. And he had the one opportunity to show at a better school, a bigger school, what he can do. And he did well.
Huh.
So 23 was the last full year when he's over at New Mexico. So again, obviously not playing the top of as far as competition here. 12 games, 189 carries, 1,190 yards, 6.3 yards per carry, 17 touchdowns. It's a lot of touchdowns. 7 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown. So not much in the receiving end, but that's a hell of a running there, going 17 touchdowns in 12 games. He also was able to play in the East-West Shrine Bowl this year after the season ended. So that's the last time, only 1 or 2 times, I should say, we've seen him play all year. 11 carries, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns, and named MVP. So that's a pretty impressive showing at a game that probably, let's be frank, probably meant more to him than any other prospect at the draft because no one saw him all year.
Yeah.
And we talked about it. He looked really good in the one game for Arizona. Now he goes to the one chance he has that he plays. Again, all guys are going to be drafted. So a much better competition level than he usually ever faces. And he still excelled to the point where he was the MVP of the game. The Draft Network said his downhill attacking style will mesh well in inside zone and gap rushing offenses that look to get upfield quickly. However, his limitations on third down and as an overall athlete cap his ceiling in the NFL. He has upside as a first and second down change of pace back with an offensive line that can keep him clean behind the line of scrimmage. So again, this is not a guy that I'm expecting to be, what every so often get that day 3 back that like blows it out of the water and just like crushes it. I'm not saying he's that, but I do think he's a legitimate NFL contributor. Like I do think he can be part of a running back system.
Yeah, this guy you probably could have got, and no one would question it, like 6th round.
Yeah, I mean, there's people. I'll be very frank that, again, I'm not sitting there scouting for hours, guys. That we didn't scout the drafts over that the Giants are going to get. This is the one guy I was like, let me watch the tape on this kid. Like, let me really scout him like we're scouting a player that we're looking at as a potential Giant. His tape was good, guys. His tape was good. And I'm actually very intrigued by him. Now, keep in mind, we were also very intrigued by Turbo Miller last year, who didn't even get a chance to play because obviously the Giants didn't see enough of him to warrant playtime. So I'm not going to sit there and say that we have a perfect record here. And again, a 7th round pick is what I'm saying, contributor. Like I'm not sitting there saying he's going to be a guy who get 1,000 yards in a season here. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But I think there's a place for him in the NFL. I do think there's a place for him. They projected him actually as a day 3 prospect on the Draft Network as well. So again, he got drafted where he should have been, basically based on what you've seen. So overall in the Commanders, again, I don't like their first pick. I like their second pick. Don't like their third pick. And just kind of, got only like 2 of the picks. So
probably like a C+.
Yeah. I would give them a C+ because I really just dislike the first pick overall that much.
Yeah.
Now, if he balls out and we're wrong, then yeah, this draft looks so much better. It's not even funny. But when you only have 2 picks in the first 2 days, and your top pick is one you reach for, it's gonna really affect your grade with us.
Yeah, and it's almost like they felt like they didn't have a chance at 61, which they may have. So it's
I don't know. I mean, I would have questioned it less if Trey Amos was the first round pick for them. I really would have, which is the scary part.
Yeah.
So, all right, last one, guys. The Dallas freaking Cowboys.
Yeah, Fuchs.
How about the new Cowboys?
They're worse than the old ones.
Yeah. Listen, I gotta say, this low key, guys, is like one of the best drafts that's not getting any attention. And I'm not saying best draft overall, but the Cowboys made some moves I liked, and they're not really getting much kudos for it. Which as a Giant fan, I'm okay with it, and I'm okay with it not panning out. But there's some players they got I liked. So they start off with the first pick on their 12th round, so the 12th overall pick, Tyler Booker, the best true guard in the entire draft. 6'5", 325 pounds, played at Alabama, 21 years old, from New Haven, Connecticut. This past year, 13 games, just a 66.5 PFF grade. Again, not a great PFF grade at all. But there's a lot of things that you see in there, and he's a guy that needs time to develop. And obviously, let's be honest, the Cowboys have had decent lines the last couple of years. They're kind of in the process of rebuilding their offensive line right now. It's brand new from the last couple of years ago, but they got a decent track record. So for them to get a guy who has everything you want athletic wise, shows promise, but is lacking technique, it's not a bad pickup. Now, I can question the fact that I think it's a little early. We had round 1, round 2 graded him. So, you could definitely question it being early. But they got the player they wanted. First team All SEC the last couple of years. First team All American this year. For his career, 77 snaps at left tackle, 1763 at left guard, 167 at right guard. So he's played all across the line. He's massive. He's got great arm length. He's got good low pad level. He's not elite as far as his movement, his agility, but he's good enough to do pulls and those kind of moves there. And he plays angry. His biggest issue is his feet. He's got slow feet. He doesn't have that quickness that you want when they're moving around. Now, when you talk about the difference, keep in mind, again, I said he's got some agility. What I mean by slow feet is when you got to push that pile, he's got a little problem doing that, is what I'm saying. That's where I'm saying the slow feet there. He also has trouble redirecting if somebody goes into his lane that he's trying to get to somebody else at that point to try to pick off the block like that. Again, we had a round 1, round 2 grade on him, so I definitely think it's early, but I like the player for them specifically. Like if he went to a team that had trouble developing offensive linemen, I'll say it even, the Giants, I would hate the pick. I would hate the pick because you got a player that's a project when you haven't been able to develop people at that position. Now, instead, they got a player that's a project they have been able to develop in Dallas. So, again, for them, I don't hate the pick. For them, I don't think it's crazy. But I do think it's a little bit early. So, we lose you, Rob?
I'm still here. I'm
okay.
Messing with the camera.
Okay. Oh, there you go. You're all blue for a second there.
Ooh. Probably the Blue Man Group.
Next guy, edge rusher, Donovan Ezaraku out of Boston College. A guy that we liked a lot more than most people did. 6'2", 247 pounds, 21 years old. Actually, in our notes here, we did the scouting, 22 at the end of April. So it's the last day of April. We'll just assume he's turned 22 by now. Born in Philadelphia. I'm not sure right now if it's the West Philadelphia or not, if where he's born and raised. I've heard rumors. Now he's moving with his auntie's uncle in Arlington, Texas, apparently. He grew up in Williamston, New Jersey, though, so he is a Jersey boy originally. This past year, 12 games, 80 tackles, 21 tackles for loss, 16.5 sacks, 1 pass deflected, 3 forced fumbles, and a 91.2 PFF grade. Listen, guys, I know Boston College it's not Alabama, it's not Georgia, it's not Ohio State, it's not Michigan. It's still a legit school. 91.2 PFF grade, guys. That's not too shabby. He's got really active hands, great technique, good arm length for his height. He's agile. He may need to add just a little bit of strength there. He has trouble in run defense. He has trouble shedding blocks at times as well. Again, we talk about the strength issue. That's probably where that is. He's probably going to start off as a situational pass rusher, but this is a guy on a team that, let's be frank, lost a lot of players last year on defense, some to injury, some to the Commanders. Now they've lost more on Chauncey Golston going to the Giants now as well. It just, I feel like this is a move to replenish a need. We had him at a round 2, round 3 kind of grade, but round 2 is where I thought he should go. So he went where I thought he should go. 44th pick overall, the 12th pick in the second round. Not a bad pickup at all.
No.
Now here's their steal. This is their steal. This is a guy that I could not believe did not go in the second round. I thought he would all day long, especially the way things were going, because he was the best corner I had on the board for a little while. Pick 12 in the third round, pick 76 overall. Cornerback Savon Ravel Jr., East Carolina, small school guy, outside corner, 6'3", 193 pounds, 23 years old, from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Second team All ACC in 23. He is this past year 3 games only. We'll get to why in a minute. 8 tackles, a tackle for loss, 2 interceptions, including 1 for a touchdown, 2 passes deflected, an 84.0 PFF grade. He tore his practice. I tore his practice. He tore his ACL in practice this year, guys.
Gotta say, that's pretty challenging to tear your practice.
Yeah, listen, sometimes you just
What's
don't
your
practice.
ACL?
You just tear it up. I mean, but no, he tore his ACL at practice here. That's why he only had 3 games. There is obviously the medical concern with that. I think what's best for them is to try to get him in a situation to not have to force him to start till he's ready. Because of that. Let's be honest. You come back the first year from the ACL, you're not usually 100%.
Yeah.
To be honest, and also rookie corners tend to struggle. I know every so often you get a Sauce Gardner, but rookie corners tend to struggle.
Yeah. I mean, there's not enough sauces out there, but there's a lot of busts out there. So
yeah.
It would be very wise. And if you do start him, should be like a slot. Maybe not even slot, but like something where it's.
I was gonna say like, nickel dime kind of package guy for right now.
Short zone where he doesn't have to do a lot of bursts. Kind of like going for like if it's a Hail Mary kind of like situation where you got 5 receivers out there.
I mean, you got Bland, who obviously did very good for them lately. They got Diggs, who I know people are concerned about him in the long term with some injury issues. So maybe you start Diggs for this year and he'll reevaluate next year and look to move on potentially from him. And in the meantime, you got a really good third corner in case somebody does get hurt. Yeah. He's got great size, length, fluid, and movement, helps in run defense. He's also great on special teams. So beyond being a nickel and dime guy to start, he's also going to be a guy that you'll definitely see in special teams, especially on kick block teams there as well. He's blocked multiple field goals time in college. He's bad at timing on his jams. He's also been known to be sometimes manipulated by the quarterback's eyes and needs to turn on the ball quicker. That's going to lead to penalties and missed potential interceptions there. But again, really good player. You watch the tape, and again, obviously he's just coming from a smaller school, so I get there's that element of it as well. But he looks really good when he gets a chance to play. I wish, not just for his own sake, some people got a better chance to see him this past year, but I wish he didn't get injured also, so we can see him in the Senior Bowl and that kind of stuff and see how well it translated from East Carolina. And I wonder if that's partially why he went to the middle of the third round. We said day 2 pick, but I thought he'd go in the second round all day long. I really did. So
that was people get a little scared, get the scaries. Yep. When you come drafting, when you're talking about a guy with the ACL, because there are some players that still like, granted, nowadays usually it's kind of like changing a door. You're in and out, no issues.
Yep.
Sometimes you can't shut the door properly anymore, and sometimes
it sounded like you said Shador for a second.
Shador,
the Shador
dropped to the 5th round. No,
Shador, why not?
Yeah, and sometimes you get the guy that's going to hang your door, and the door just never shuts right because you didn't jam it.
Like I said, I think he's a good pick. I really do. I hate to say it. He's a good pick for him. Round 5, pick 12, 149 overall. Jaden Blue from Texas.
Jaden Blue.
I'll say this, guys, up front. this was a guy that we weren't very high on. There was a lot of people who were high on him, though. And I always say, again, we're not the only ones with opinions. We're not the only ones who are right or wrong. We like to think we're right often. We have a pretty good track record, actually, for the 3 years we've been doing the draft grades now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a pretty damn good track record. So, but I didn't say it that way because we're going to be a little negative here, perhaps. But there are people who like him. So we have to include that mention there. 21 years old from Houston, Texas. This past year, he had 15 games, 134 rushes, 730 yards, 8 touchdowns, 42 catches, 368 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a 73.1 PFF grade. So he's more like a third down kind of back there, a little more of a speedy weapon kind of running back there. Again, it got good speed. He's a good receiver. He's good at the open field as well. He does dance a little too much too many times. Listen, Giants fans, we know that phrase from Saquon's days there. Sometimes you got to hit the hole. Ayo. Fumble issues. That's the big one for him. He's got some fumble issues there. Definitely a little bit of fumbleitis there. And needs also to improve in his pass protection, especially if he's going to be a guy that's going to develop as like a third down back. That's a key part of being a third down back. He has everything but the pass pro to be a third down back right now. I just don't think he's ever going to be the guy that is like a guy to challenge to be a number one. And there was just so many damn good running backs in this draft. So many good running backs that while in a normal draft, I wouldn't question this pick in the 5th round. In this one, I will. So
that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Because there's still plenty of good ones we thought were left on the board.
Yeah. Still. So their next 5th round pick, they had a couple of those there. Shamar James, linebacker out of Florida. 6'1", 229 pounds, 20 years old. So still a youngin. This past year, 13 games, 64 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, interception, 3 passes deflected, fumble recovery, and a forced fumble. 3-year career he had there. So started really young. 34 games, 165 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, interception, 3 passes deflected, 2 fumble recoveries, 2 forced fumbles. And this past year, the biggest issue with him, guys, again, PFF, I get it, but a 59.6 PFF grade for this 24 season, guys. That's bad.
That's
bad. Really bad. But here's what he is. He's very athletic. And because he's athletic and because he's very young, I knew somebody was going to take the shot at him. Now, we did not scout him. We did not have him on our list of players that we thought were at the top 150. Again, he went 152. So, take that for what it is. The Draft Network, here's what they wrote up on him. Strengths, overall athleticism and burst, plays downhill to the line of scrimmage, playmaker, range and pass coverage, effective blitzer, high motor. The concerns they listed for him, quickly shed offensive lines. He has trouble getting off blocks. Undersized to play true inside linebacker, so he's probably have to add a little size there. And too patient at times diagnosing the run. That's a coaching thing. That's teaching him what to look for. Like I said, I don't hate the pick, even though, again, I'm really ridiculously low PFF grade. But I don't hate the pick. I think he's the guy that you have to probably have met with and say, I think this kid's coachable. And if he's coachable, he's a 5th round pick, and you can start him off because, he's an athletic guy with a good burst. If you start him off on a special teams and you try to develop him with the 5th round pick, I guess it's not a bad pick. Can't hate that. So, all right. Next up here, got a lot of more day 3 picks. A lot of day 3 picks in the NFC East, guys. Round 6, pick 28, pick 204 overall. Ajani Cornelius out of Oregon. This was a guy we did not scout when we talked about our offensive tackles, but he just barely didn't make the cut. It was actually, he was one of the guys, there was a couple guys for that last spot that I was like, but he just didn't quite make it. He played 18 games total the last 2 years, all at right tackle. That's his time over at Oregon. Before that, he was 3 years over at Rhode Island as well. So he's another guy that's been around the league for, the college ranks there for quite some time there. He is 6'5", 310 pounds, so good size overall. Bleacher reports that overall Cornelius has enough size, raw strength, and evolving skills as a pass protector to earn a role as a swing tackle guard within his rookie contract. So again, you're getting the project. It's a 6th round, guys.
Yeah.
Like, can't hate it. Can't love it. Definitely can't love it in my wife's Cowboy pick, but it is what it is. Not a bad pickup, I thought.
Talking about like their needs. Yeah. But
it's also for what you got. You got a guy you're trying to develop to be basically a swing tackle, which is getting to be more and more expensive and more important position in the NFL, or a guy who just surprises you and try to develop him into a starter.
Take the starter. Let's go.
Yep. All right. Round 7. First pick in the round 7 here, guys. Pick 217 overall. Defensive tackle, Jay Tuaia out of UCLA. 6'3", 325 pounds, 21 years old. This past season, 12 games, 12 games, 25 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 sack and 1 pass deflected. For his career, 50 games, 91 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 4 passes deflected, and a 1 forced fumble and a 69 PFF grade. This is the write-up here from NFL Draft Buzz. They said, Tuaia ceiling will be determined by how quickly he can develop the instincts and awareness that his limited football background hasn't yet provided. Coming late to the sport has given him raw tools but left gaps in his game recognition. His physical traits suggest rotational potential immediately, but inconsistent tackle efficiency and limited range will prevent 3-down usage early in his career. The team that drafts him will be betting on development rather than day one impact, understanding that patience will be required to unlock his complete skill set in a defensive front. Again,
a project.
A project. That's what you get in round 7. By the way, a project whose brother also plays in the NFL. So, project.
Yeah. That may have already had some work done to him behind the scenes. Like, you're talking about career 50 games in college, but, he probably didn't start playing football close to college because his brother. So, he's a very raw player that you could possibly develop. And this is a guy, we said before, he's not going to be a day one starter. He may not be your overall starter, which is your 7th round pick.
Yep.
Not a bad thing. But if you're a depth piece, secondary, come in when you need it, you can have a long career in the NFL. So,
yeah, again, depth piece. You're not looking for anything crazy there at that point. So, a pick I was a little shocked by next. Round 7, pick 23 for them, which is 239 overall. Phil Maffa out of Clemson, 6'1", 229 pounds, 22 years old, went to high school in Loganville, Georgia. This past year, 14 games, 216 carries, 1,115 yards, 5.2 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns. Just 21 catches for 103 yards. He's 3rd team all ACC. He's big and physical. He didn't get used as a receiver much in Clemson, but he is a good receiver when they did. He's patient. He's got good vision. He's just not agile is the problem. This is all agility, athleticism kind of thing. Bad open field. It did have a shoulder injury that kind of lingered on throughout the year last year. So some of his stats there, that's him being injured and doing 1,100 yards. So that's even more impressive there. And he said he'd be healthy now. So we picked him as a day 3 pick in our scouting there. So again, they got a late 7th round. So that's not a bad pickup. What I really like about the pick is if you look at what he does and what Jaden Blue does, complete opposite style of running backs.
Correct.
And I feel like what they're doing is they're banking on, let's just beef up the offensive line. Let's just go ahead and get a couple late round running backs and see what they can do. They're definitely trying out the whole running back. Anyone can play the position, basically, just beef up the offensive line kind of role.
Yeah, especially after the past couple of years where, their offensive line has suffered. Still one of the better ones in the league, but still has suffered.
Yeah, I feel it's weird for us as Giant fans to say bad about somebody else's offensive line, but it's definitely gone lower in quality than it used to be. I think it's
especially lower in quality. I'm not saying it's the worst because it's definitely not like what the Giants were 3 years ago.
No, you think about it. I mean, like,
but when you're talking about a top 5 offensive line for nearly a decade, top 10, like, and you're talking like the latter half of the NFL, it's a big drop off. We talk about a big drop, a big swing up when you're talking ranked 30 and you go to 17. That's a big swing. Imagine it in reverse, but you're ranked number 6, and you go down to 20. Like, that's a big drop, especially when your running backs are used to that protection. When your quarterback's used to that protection, your receivers are used to that time to get open.
Yep,
it all plays effect. And then what Dallas did the past couple of years too is, what have they done with the running back situation? Zeke fell off the bandwagon. Like, they tried to pay they tried to put in his backup, which is completely opposite of how he ran the ball.
But didn't do bad for at least a little bit. Tony Pollard didn't do bad until they had to pay him.
He also didn't do good.
It's 1 year is really good. The second year, okay.
This 1 year was really good when Zeke was still there.
I'm just saying.
Well, so am I.
I just say he did have one good year at least. I mean, he was the lead back. It wasn't Zeke that year. It was Pollard.
Zeke started, and everyone planned for Zeke when they covered his style, and then Pollard.
Not once the season progressed, and they realized who the better running back was.
You're right. Towards the latter of the year, Pollard did not play his ball, and then it all showed the following year.
When Pollard was the machine they wanted, they weren't focusing on Zeke at the end of that year. That was
they were trying to, but at the same time, the new running back. There's a new running back. Yeah, everyone's trying to figure out who he is. It's still different. Listen, they figured out the following year. So
they did, but it's also I think the offensive line got a little further down. I mean, they've been drafting guys left and right for the offensive line. Let's be honest there.
Yeah,
and they draft guys specifically named Tyler. I don't know what it is about Tyler. 3 out of the 5 offensive linemen now that you got to assume will be the starting offensive line will be named Tyler. Yeah, it's going to be very confusing for the offensive line coach, or very convenient.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyler Guyton, first-round pick last year. Tyler Smith, first-round pick back in 22. Cooper, Bebe, third-round pick last year. So they got one that's not named Tyler. And then Tyler Booker, 12th overall pick this year. I mean, all these guys have been drafted the last couple of years, except Terrence Steele. He's 5 years in the league now. Like, we got that. They've done a lot of work, and I got to say again, I hate giving in kudos to the Cowboys, the Eagles, especially ever. But I will call it like I see it. They've done a lot of work to this offensive line, specifically through the draft.
Yeah.
So now the rest of their roster is going to crap. Their defense isn't nearly as good. They have no receivers besides CeeDee Lamb, basically.
The head coaching has kind of done what he's supposed to do.
Yeah. Nobody wanted to be the head coach there. They had get stuck with one, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean,
coordinator fled town.
I'll give them credit in the offensive line part, at least.
Yeah.
So, one last pick. And, guys, I got to tell you, this is not a guy we scouted beforehand. I told you guys point blank that if we didn't scout them beforehand, we did look up about them and learn about them, but I'm not going to say there's hours to spend, watching tape on these guys. We also didn't learn how to say their names, so this should be a fun one. Tommy Aking Besote. Aking Besote?
Aking Bestow.
AKINGBESOTE. I don't know. I have no clue how to pronounce it. I'm not even trying to be funny or offensive. I just legit don't have no clue how to say that. So
definitely, I'm right.
So yeah. He is, let's see here, 3 foot. 3 foot.
3 foot.
3 foot.
Gotta say his name nor his height.
6'3", 306 pound interior defensive lineman from Maryland. A guy that, again, it's so late in the draft at this point that you literally just you get what you see potential in. I mean, the Giants did the same thing. Let's be honest. We hadn't scouted the 2 7th-round guys that we got from the Giants either. We just had to learn about them a lot more. Learn about this guy because we're actually going to have him on our team. 12 games, 32 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and 1 sack, and a fumble recovery, and a forced fumble. We got a nice little write-up from Draft Network on him. Said his strengths were twitch, length, projectability. Concerns: production, consistency, lower half flexibility, and pass rush repertoire.
Ooh.
I like any website that says the word repertoire. I have to say that repertoire. You want to hear me say croissant?
Oui.
Anyway, so I mean, again, there's things they like. Again, projectability. What that means is just that there's people that see untapped potential out of this kid. So you're gonna have to see, watch a little film and to see more of what they're seeing at that point there. I can tell you that 72.6 PFF grade, not too bad there. I can't find anything as far as his age, but he was a 4-year player at Maryland, so you got to assume he's probably around 22. It makes sense. But again, last pick, almost the last pick in the draft. He was almost Mr. Irrelevant. So let's be honest. He probably wouldn't make the roster.
Yeah. I mean,
probably not.
As we does, every kudos to the boy, but that's definitely not going to improve their grade.
Yep. Womp. Let's get to those aforementioned grades here. Rob, go for it first. What do you think of the Cowboys?
They filled a lot of needs, but they also reached for a lot of needs. But I feel like when you're talking, earlier in the draft, they did, like I said, but they picked up Tyler Booker. Like, you could have got him later, but they weren't going to get him in the second round, and not to move your picks around to fill that need. Like,
if they had traded back a little bit and gotten him, that'd have been freaking amazing for them. I'm glad they didn't do it because I'd rather they a little bit, but
exactly. So like that kind of takes a tick off there, but they got a great person, overall guard. You go down, you pick up your edge, with your pick 12 in the second round. Like, it's a good spot for him. Good pick. That's what they needed. And then you go get a corner in the third round.
Yeah,
they're picking up some needs. So like overall, like with this draft and later on, it's like I give them about a B. Like, and I teeter very close with them and the Eagles, but like I think I give the Eagles a little bit of an edge on how they draft because they've had a better overall draft system. They've got to complete, but like, hold on. But like I'm very if the Eagles don't have the draft history they have, because we're also taking a guess on these players, I might give the Dallas Cowboys the edge.
Yeah.
But I have more faith, which is I really don't want to say or can't, like, it's hard for me to finish. Eagles better at it.
Well, you gave the Eagles a B.
I almost gave him a B plus, and I'm sitting on the edge with the B as well for the Cowboys. And part of me wants to give him a B minus, but I'm just going to stick with a B.
Okay. So I'm also giving them a B. You and I should agree on 2 out of 3 teams. I give them a B, and here's what I do think, and why I said it. I think it's quietly a better draft than I think people are giving it credit for. So they went and said, I need a guard. Let me get to the best guard in the draft. Maybe a little slightly early, but I need a guard. Let me get the best one in the draft. Now, I knocked the Commanders for picking early. Let me be very clear on the difference. They picked like the 5th best tackle in the draft. There's a difference in picking the guy you think is the best guard of the draft and picking, because it's a need, or picking the 5th best guy at the position that you need because it's a need. Like, you should have traded up maybe to get one of the better ones then. Or you should have just said, hey, you know what? This ain't going to work. Maybe we need to trade down and get this kid then.
Exactly.
There's options you had. You didn't take those options. Then you get a guy who I think is one of the most underrated edge rushers in this draft. I really do. I do like him a lot. You go out and get the steal for this class for the Cowboys in a developmental corner that could easily take, Diggs' spot from him, because you hear all kinds of rumors about Diggs not being the same and all the injuries catching up to him and all these kind of things. So you get a year to kind of get him in the role and then have him take over. Then you get, with your later round picks, you get some developmental trench guys, and you get 2 running backs. Let's be honest. There's not a lot of weapons for Dak Prescott.
No, and great. Like a lot of people forget, like, running backs could be a weapon for your quarterback, and he has not had anyone in the backfield that was relevant in the past 4 years.
I won't go that far, but I would say last year was definitely not a good year specific for him. No. Tony Pollard by himself, before he left Tennessee this offseason, had definitely had a down year the year before. So I'll say the last 2 years, he's really been struggling to get a good running game going to help him out, or even a weapon to throw to out of the backfield, because it's been off years for him. But now they get 2 running backs. And again, we've talked about all the time where people say, running backs, you can get them later in the draft. You can get them later in the draft. Well, guess what? I got people talking trash that the Cowboys waited, but this is what people say to do. They did that.
Yeah.
And they beefed up their trenches instead. I can't hate that. That's what we say. When every single time it happens, we say it's smart. But again, I get the Cowboy hate because I hate the Cowboys myself. But I'm trying to look at this objectively as a draft analyst as opposed to a Giants fan, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that tells me they did was probably the smarter move, especially in a very deep running back class. And they got 2 running backs. Obviously, they feel confident in them. Not necessarily the ones I would have picked, but they feel confident in them. And because of that, they probably feel like they got everything rolling at that point. They beat up their offensive line, which does help their running back. The only thing that I would say knock on the squad overall is that they didn't get a wide receiver. They really need a wide receiver to pair with CeeDee Lamb. I'm sorry, it is really do. Like, Jalen Tolbert is not the guy in my eyes. Mingo, they traded for him. I don't think he's the guy. Sorry, John, if you're listening to the show right now.
The only thing is, like, at least, I mean, Mingo never had a shot to, really shine from where he was at. Now you could be like the Robin, or the second or third or fourth, whatever, how many Robins are, to CeeDee Lamb, who has pretty much been right there, the number 1 receiver the past 2 years. So
remember, though, we set up Mingo in the draft, though.
I understand. I get you. Like, he would be a great number 3, but I also wouldn't be surprised down the road they trade and get someone.
I wouldn't be shocked. I'm going to throw this out to you, and I don't know what kind of relationship they have since he left. Amari Cooper's still out there. I wonder if they try to bring him back, because they only got rid of him because of money issues. Like, there were mega personality issues. At least they were made public. I'll put it that way. There's always things that happen behind.
Yeah, it's made public.
It was a money thing. I wouldn't be shocked if they try to bring him back. And as a Giants fan, I'd freaking hate that. Because let's be honest, we have to play him twice a year again. Amari Cooper really made Deontay Banks look horrible and got half his receiving yards for the season against Deontay Banks, who is the CP2 now for the Giants. So therefore, he would be on Amari Cooper. So, but like I said, not a bad draft, I thought, overall for the Cowboys. Like I said, it's not a, oh my God, home run. You guys hit the nail on the head. You did everything you possibly could there. But it's a solid draft, I thought, for them. It's one of those low-key solid because they built the trenches. And you don't always get the credit for that. You get the splashy moves that all of a sudden people go, ooh, you got a quarterback. Ooh, you got this. Ooh, you got a receiver. Ooh. But, again, got defensive line help, got offensive line help, then got a couple of later-on running backs that have some potential to pair with the couple that they already got, Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, who, remember, had a good year a couple of years ago with the Eagles too. So, not a bad draft. Quietly, not a very bad draft. So
a sneaky good draft.
It's a sneak. All right. Let's do our rankings then overall and where we got them here.
Ooh.
So we're going to start like you would at the bar, bottoms up. We're going to start at the bottom here. Now, I got to say, I didn't even hear your rankings before the show. You don't even get a chance to start this. And I put on my show notes here for us there the ratings of where everybody's at. And I rated them exactly how you and I ended up rating them, which is kind of scary. It's like I know you.
Oh, it's like we've talked about this kind of stuff for the past 3 years on air.
I know
3
you.
to 4 times a week.
I know you.
At 9 o'clock on Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, sometimes Sundays, depending on what's going on through the week.
Or sometimes, if 5 times, who knows? You just never know.
Just saying,
oh my God,
it's not like we talked about that this kind of stuff beforehand.
No,
just not frequency.
Hey, listen, I'm proud of myself. I understood I understood the assignment. I got it right.
Yeah.
Number 4, the Washington Commanders. There. So again, it's the first overall pick that they had that really is the killer. They just reached for the player that wasn't even the top guy at their position. So need picks can be not bad picks at times, but when you reach too much, it's an issue. Couple that with the fact that not impressed with Jalen Lane, and again, we said their best pick they had was Trey Amos, the corner out of Ole Miss, and I still stand by that. But Rob, am I crazy saying Ja'Cory Crosskey Merritt is probably their second best pick, just because of the potential this kid has to be an actual part of the running back room answer?
Yes, especially because where they got him.
Yeah.
So
when we're talking about your second best pick being a 7th round running back, that's not good.
No.
That's not good. So next up, and this was a close one, the next 2. But if you remember the draft grades we gave on this one here, you gave a B. I gave a B minus. The B minus I gave, the minus is what separated and made the Eagles into 3rd place here. Very, very close race for 2nd place here. I'm sure
just to clarify, I gave him the B, but I was teetering.
But there's no teetering. You gave the B.
I just want to specify, because when it comes to like these drafts, I was very close and I gave a little bit more respect. I also gave a B to another team, but I also just said 10 minutes ago, I actually might give the edge to the Eagles on this, but
I think you would if it was just you in that scenario. I don't disagree with you at all on that point. I think you would. But you gave both a B, and I gave this team a B minus. The B minus is the difference.
Yeah.
So it's not your B. It's not your fault. It is my fault. I will take the blame, Rob. I will.
Right.
Don't worry. The Eagles fans won't hurt you. The Eagles fans won't hurt you. I won't let them hurt you, Rob.
Well,
I can be your hero, baby.
I have to go to Philadelphia on Friday, so please.
Yeah, it happens. So I mean, again, we didn't hate I just want to make it clear. We also didn't hate the Eagles draft class. A B minus and a B is not ridiculous. It's not like we thought they just had no clue what they were doing. We like the Campbell pick a lot. You kind of reached a little there for a safety that got potential, but reached a little. Got a defensive tackle in a very, very deep defensive tackle round a year that we just didn't like. And literally, like I said, the first thing out of the Bleacher Report is Ty Robinson is a draftable player. You got him in the 4th round.
Yeah.
Then you got a kid that we didn't have in the 5th round. You didn't have him on the list there. You saw some kind of issues with him when he faced better competition. UCF isn't exactly the pinnacle again of schedules there, but a couple of times that he faced a rough town, big town, he had a rough outing. Backup linebacker, can't hate. Backup center, can't hate. a couple backup tackles. Again, can't hate. All this stuff I can't hate. And we really do like Antwaun Powell-Ryland. The last pick they had, we get the last pick of these drafts. We were liking for these guys. We like him a lot. He's got probably a lot of good sneaky potential there. But the issues really is that besides the first round, that the first couple picks they had, like I said, Campbell, great pickup, but you reach, you got a who? And you got a guy who didn't face a lot of top end talent and struggled when he did. So 3 out of your first 4 picks got some big question marks for you. So
yeah,
that's why the minus for me on my end, which was the difference maker. It's not Rob's fault, guys. Don't be mad at him. It's my fault. When he goes there to your restaurantes, don't spit in his food.
Please.
Next up, number 2 was the Dallas Cowboys. That, again, you like the Eagles class just a little bit better than the Cowboys. I thought it was sneaky good, not great, but sneaky good.
Yeah, I said the same thing.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't have as many question marks as I do for the Eagles because of, like I said, 3 out of their top 4 picks I questioned. The Cowboys, though, went out and got, again, it was in reach need, but they got the best guy at the position that they needed. Then they go ahead and get a guy that we thought was much better than most people did at the edge position. They got potentially a steal at, Savon Ravel. Got 2 running backs to go ahead and build up a stable of running backs in that room. And they got some legit competition at running back. That's the thing. When you got 4 running backs that you're going to go battle it out, 1 or 2 of them is going to bound to do something. Especially when you have decent offensive line. And again, they built up the trenches. They got a defensive tackle, an offensive tackle late at that point there. I can't hate on it overall. I can't say, oh my God, it's an amazing draft. We'll get to the one that is in a minute. But,
yeah,
it's not a hate pick there. I think it's not a bad draft overall for them.
So, this is my opinion when it comes to the Cowboys and Eagles draft. And the difference maker. For me, it's why I gave the teeter to the Eagles.
You're still worried about the Philly people. They're not going to hate you, Rob.
No.
It's okay, Rob.
There's a better track record.
Yes.
Of the Eagles going out, taking questionable picks, and making a very solid pick, and picks that people thought were better make look like fools because the people that they picked up played better and have a track record of being better in the league. So when we say questionable, we're talking about as 2 goofballs sitting outside of Philadelphia, sitting outside of Dallas or Arlington, and looking in and saying, who took this, who took that? But if you put a blindfold in front of me and said, who picked who and what teams are these going to, what would you classify it as? I would have to say on paper, Dallas looks like a better draft class, but you have to also give the edge to the coaching. That's the only difference.
I will say this again. I hate that we're literally spending this segment right now, giving kudos to the coaching staffs of these teams, but the Cowboys really in general have not been bad at developing talent either.
No, just not recently.
It's just they haven't been able to win when they're in the playoffs. That's the issue with them. If you want to look at it objectively, they've had a very good run the last 10, 15 years. If you look at just purely wins in the regular season.
Well, if you look purely wins, it's one thing.
Yeah.
But
the Eagles obviously now have 2 championships the last 15 years. They've had the better run because of that. But listen, I don't have it up in front of me, guys. But I guarantee if you look at the records between the last 15 years, the Cowboys, the Eagles are probably neck and neck in regular season.
Most likely, with the Cowboys were at 12-5 for the past 3-4 years. So yeah, you're not wrong.
Let me see. I'm gonna do it this way: highest win percentage since 2010. I'm gonna say NFL. So that way it's 14 years, but I figure it's probably something to find at that point. Let's see. Here we go. Team winning percentage. So this is reversed now. I don't know why. Okay, there we go. The Giants were very high for a second. Yeah. Oh my. Dude, I didn't even plan. Let me just put point blank. I did not plan this. I did not look this stat up beforehand. You can see my eyes as I watch the video that I'm looking at a screen to see what it is. Eagles number 6, Cowboys number 7 in win percentage. So the Eagles are at 5.72, Cowboys 5.53. It's literally a difference of 4 games and a tie in 14 years. That's how close those guys are. So again, they both have a decent track record of developing players. So that's why I'm saying it's a little odd as a fan of a team that really has trouble developing players. Let's be honest in that. For me to sound like we're kind of talking trash here, but it is what it is. We're just looking out based on the talent they got, and to me, the number one choice has got to be the New York Giants in this. We loved our draft, and I get it. Maybe we're homers, and I'm sure that if you got an Eagle fan or a Dallas fan or one of the two Commanders fans that live in this country, coming watching this, they're going to go ahead and say, "Oh, what the hell? Like, these are homers. They just picked the number one." I don't like. You listen to draft pundits, even they'll all tell you the Giants had one of the best, if not the best, draft classes of this draft.
Well, listen, a lot of people I talk to in that the metro area of Philadelphia since the draft, because I've not been into the actual Philadelphia area, but I've been to the suburbs all around it, which, a lot of Eagle fans. And when we talk draft, they say Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
Jason Dartley. You guys are great.
We got literally the best player in the draft talent-wise. Again, I have my questions personality-wise, health-wise, but he is the best player in this draft purely from a talent perspective.
Yeah.
Hard to beat that. Then you go get your quarterback in the future that you could sit for a year to train because you have 2 veterans in front of him.
Yeah, and you make sure to go get him.
Then you get a defensive tackle with a 2nd-round grade in the 3rd round. You get a running back that Maurice Jones-Drew. I'm going to say Maurice Jones-Drew. You think he might know something about running backs? When he was screaming up and down about the fact that he wasn't getting drafted earlier, he had him as 3rd best running back in this entire draft. He thought he'd go in a round 2 pick. We got him in the 4th round. Then we get Marcus and Bow. Again, I got to find out which one he prefers to go by. I keep hearing some people saying Bow or Bo and Bow. So if somebody sees what he prefers, let us know in the comment section, because I haven't seen anything yet as far as that. I want to make sure we're pronouncing his name correctly. He is a Giant. Therefore, we'll show him that respect. Plus, it's just kind of the right thing to do in general, even though we kind of
butchered somebody else. And you guys know him. Just
we didn't butcher somebody's name probably earlier, but it is what it is. So, but he was a 3rd round grade we had. A lot of people had a 3rd round grade on him as well. We got him in the 5th round. Again, 7th round picks. We've been consistent with 7th round picks. You're just you take people you see some potential and you move on. This was a really, really good draft class for the Giants. Now, again, we've had classes on this show. We've bashed our draft classes before. How many times have you and I flipped out when they picked players? We did not like the Deonte Banks pick at all. Let's be very frank, guys. We did not like the Deonte Banks pick.
No.
We were not very happy that night. We were, we were happy getting Neighbors last year. We liked the Tyler Newman pick last year. We didn't like the Drew Phillips pick, which turned out to be very good, obviously. So we're not always right. But this is a really good draft class, guys. And this has the potential to be a draft class that starts to this starts to be, the potential turnaround for the Giants. And I don't want to say definite turnaround for the Giants, but the potential turnaround for the Giants here, because they got people that they're looking to change the entire attitude of this football team with. Point blank, looking to change the entire attitude of the defense.
Looking at you, Carter.
It's not just him; they're all that way. It's like I said, it's up and down. It's really up and down. So, now we'll address this real quick here, because Vernon Jones here said, Drew, you said the Commanders drafted 5th best tackle, but he held Carter to 0 sacks and 0 pressures head to head. He did. He had a very good game against them. Now, I will say there is some question later on in the season as to what point Abdul Carter hurt his shoulder. I know they're saying that it was much later in the year. I've heard other people say that it wasn't as late in the year. That was the second to last game of the season, I believe, for the Penn State. Let me see here. Third to last game for the season. So I don't know if he was fully healthy even at that point. And I didn't make any excuses at that point either for him because, listen, you're allowed to have bad games. But I'm saying fifth best because we watched the tape overall, not just one game, and what he did at the Senior Bowl. So is what it is. Like I said, when you do evaluations, people are out to disagree. We're going to get upset at that. We promise.
Yeah.
But it's where we see it. So, like I said, I know it's going to sound like a homer one. We got the Giants number 1 as far as they're having the best draft class in this division. We have Cowboys number 2, Eagles number 3, and Commanders number 4. So feel free to discuss amongst yourselves. Feel free to put in the comments section what you guys think. If you agree, disagree, you think we're crazy. We got a little crazy. It happens. So
goofy balls.
But guys, that's going to call it a night for us here. We'll be back again for you guys Monday. We're taking a few days off because we are flat out exhausted from all the draft coverage we've done. I said we did 150 scouting reports here leading up to the draft. We did 4 hours Friday, 4.5 hours on Saturday, 2 hours I did on Sunday. We did another hour and a half on Monday. Now hour and 46 today. So yeah, we're a little tired, guys. So you guys getting a little bit of break from the goofballs here. But we'll be back again Monday, going back to our regular schedule of Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, barring anything crazy the Giants might do between now and then. As always, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter/X, and of course, Rob's favorite, my LinkedIn profile. And of course, as always, we're available on the next day on all the audio podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all the big ones there. So if you haven't already, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the share button there. Tell a friend about the show, guys. Listen, we got 75 people right now watching us here. So we're expecting 75 people have all hit the subscriber button because it helps us out and it's free.
Please.
I'm not beyond guilt trips, damn it.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys, though, either way, for watching. And we'll see you guys Monday there. Like I said, barring anything crazy news-wise between now and then. And like I said, guys, have a happy, safe weekend. I know it sounds weird to say it on a Wednesday, but, we're not going to see you guys till after the weekend. So it is what it is. So, as always, Giant fans, go G-Man! Go G-Man! G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging.